Hello students. So we will discuss the chapter number 7, respiration in plants. So respiration. Now respiration, it is a catabolic process of releasing energy from simple sugar glucose or carrying out life processes. Now there is a difference between respiration and breathing. Breathing means taking enough air, oxygen and giving out of carbon dioxide. But respiration means production of energy from the absorbed food. Now, there are three important characteristics of respiration is there. First is the breakdown of glucose. So, glucose gets broken down to carbon dioxide and water. But this breakdowns of glucose, it doesn't take place in a single step. It takes place in a series of steps. And there are two phases are there. One is the glycolysis, in which glucose gets converted to pyruvate, and next is the Krebs cycle, where the pyruvate is converted to carbon dioxide, water and ATP. Okay, next important characteristic is that each breakdown step is due to some particular enzymes. And the third characteristic step is that the ADP, there is the ATP is there. There is the ATP means adenosine triphosphate. Now, the energy that are liberated in the breakdown of this glucose molecule, that energy is not in the form of heat, but a large amount of energy is converted into ATP. Okay. So, these are the three important characteristics of respiration. Next, so living organism, they shows two types of metabolic activities. One is anabolic, it is also called as constructive or biosynthetic process, and this is the process which consumes energy. And next it is a catabolic process, it is the breakdown process, and this is also called as a destructive or breakdown processes. Next, there are kinds of respiration. Now there are two main kinds of respiration is there. One is the aerobic respiration, that means production of energy in presence of oxygen. So when glucose gets converted in presence of oxygen to carbon dioxide, water and energy, a lot of energy is produced in this case. So it is the process of respiration that takes place in presence of oxygen. So C6H12O6 plus 6O2 gives 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus 38 ATP. And anaerobic respiration is that respiration which takes place in absence of oxygen. So in absence of oxygen, glucose gets converted into ethyl alcohol, carbon dioxide and energy, but that only two molecules of ATP is produced. So the amount of energy production in case of anaerobic respiration is lesser than the aerobic respiration. Next, there are few experiments on respiration are there. First experiment is to prove that oxygen is used in the experiment. So there is the apparatus, a conical flux are there, and you can see in one of this conical flux A, they contain germinating bean seeds. It's given there germinating bean seeds, and the flask B, they contains dead seeds. Dead seeds means the boiled seeds, and in there some amount of antiseptic is also added to avoid bacterial decay, so that bacteria cannot grow there. And wet cottons are applied there so that they can get water from there. And a small tube that contains soda lime is also suspended in flask both A and B, that is for absorbing carbon dioxide released by the seed. That means soda lime absorbs carbon dioxide. Now after a few days, the delivery tube is connected with flask A will show a greater rise in water level. While a burning paper, when a burning paper is introduced in each flask after removing their corks, the flame is immediately put off in flask A, but it continues for flask B. So why it is so? This proves that oxygen was absent in flask A. Why? Because as the germinating seeds, they had to produce carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide was absorbed by the soda lime, and there was no oxygen. And this proves that oxygen was absent in flask A, showing there that it was used up by the germinating seeds. Whatever oxygen was there, that oxygen was used up by the germinating seeds. And the volume of the oxygen so used up was indicated by the rise of water level. So as the oxygen they had used, so the water level had risen. Now there are two questions arises, that why there is slight increase in water level, and second is which of these two flasks is a control. So obviously the B is a control one, because in that B they had been used a dead germinating seed, that is a boiled one, so they will not undergo any germinating process. And second was the why the water level had increased. The water level had increased because when the germinating seeds they had used up the oxygen, so that is a symbolized symbol, that is that they had utilized the oxygen, germinating seeds have utilized the oxygen, so the volume of the water rise up in the delivery tube. Okay. Next is the experiment to prove that carbon dioxide is produced during respiration in germinating seeds. So here you can see there are the two flasks are there, A and B, and they are with some wet cottons are placed there. Soaked seeds are placed in flask A and boiled seeds are placed in flask B. And a little antiseptic, the carbolic acid they had taken, is added to flask B, so that bacteria cannot grow there as the boiled seed. Now the flasks are corked and left in similar condition of lightened temperature. Now a few days later, the seeds in flask A will found to have clearly germinated, and those in flask B will not show any process of germination. Why? Because the gases in each flask then tested by removing the cork and tilting the flask over the tube containing lime water, and then shaking the test tube. The expected gas carbon dioxide being heavier than air will flow down. So gas from flask A would turn the lime water milky because they had released carbon dioxide, whereas while the gas in flask B will not show any effect. Next experiment to demonstrate anaerobic respiration. Now this is an experiment to demonstrate anaerobic respiration, and for this 8 to 10 soaked and peeled off germinate peas has been taken, and then they had been pushed into the mouth of the test tube that is filled with mercury and inverted in a beaker. So seeds it will float to the top and will be completely surrounded by mercury. But after 2 days, the level of mercury in the test tube A will fall, and the liberated gas will be found to be carbon dioxide. Okay. Now, the carbon dioxide can be tested by introducing a stick of potassium hydroxide, which will float up through mercury, and then coming in contact with the gas will absorb the carbon dioxide. So, a similar control experiment would be set up. This shows that they releases carbon dioxide. Next, there is a difference between respiration and photosynthesis. Now, respiration it occurs only in presence of chlorophyll, whereas photosynthesis occurs only in presence of chlorophyll, whereas respiration it occurs in all living cells. Photosynthesis occurs only in presence of light. Respiration occurs at all times. Photosynthesis uses carbon dioxide and water. Respiration uses oxygen and glucose. Now, in case of photosynthesis, oxygen is released as an end product, whereas in case of respiration, carbon dioxide is released as an end product. Then in case of photosynthesis, light energy is converted into chemical energy, and in case of respiration, chemical energy is partly converted into heat and partly into a useful energy. Then result in gaining weight in case of photosynthesis, and in case of respiration result in weight loss. Okay. And photosynthesis is a food manufactured, and in case of respiration food is broken down. So these are the few differences between respiration and photosynthesis. Thank you.